Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is Two Back or Not to Back, where we're going to go through a variety of crowdfunding campaigns, talking about the campaigns themselves. Does it make sense to back them or not? We have a whole lot of things going on. It is yet another busy week. Everything up to like the whole holiday season has been absolutely jam-packed. Speaking of which, I don't know about you, but I've already started my holiday shopping. I feel like once upon a time, Black Friday was like a day, and then like it was like a night and a day, and then it was like, you know, the night, the day before, and then maybe it's also like Cyber Monday, and now it's like the whole week before. But we also have it in June and July, and honestly, is it even Black Friday? I don't know, but I do know I've bought a few things already, so I guess it's still working. Whatever they're doing, it is still working. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into this week. We have another action-packed week, a lot of campaigns, but starting off with our sponsor of the week, which is Worldspanner Factions. Worldspanner Factions is entering its last 2 days over on crowdfunding. This adventure game with team, solo, competitive modes. This is the spiritual successor to Duel of Ages, the winner of like 32 awards, with like 167 unique heroes and foes to face off against or with and all that. This adventure game brings an absolute jam-packed amount of content to your table. In fact, over on my Instagram, if you missed it, over on my Instagram, there's actually an active giveaway still going on till around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, so today's your last chance to go and enter that giveaway. If you want to be entered to win a box set over here, just make sure to click on this post over here, follow the page, follow the things. It's all in that stuff over there. But if you want a giveaway over there, that will be available to you as well. But that's going to be Worldspanner Factions, our sponsor of the week. And for that, let's go ahead and move on to the crowdfunding campaigns. Although starting off as usual, disclaimer that I do work for Gamefound. I've been doing this Two Back or Not to Back series for 4 years now or so, but I've been working for Gamefound for the past year, and please take that into account as we go through these campaigns. And with that, starting off with the very first thing, which usually would be Cult of the Now, but instead today we just have like, I don't know, a splash of cold water or something like that. Specifically, King of Average over here has recent gaming issues finally updated. This King of Average, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this channel. If not, worth checking out. But over here, in this video over here, recent gaming issues finally updated. He goes through a bunch of things currently going on in the board game space. One of them we've actually covered over here on the channel, the Tiozo game table, where I tried to warn as many of you as possible away from the Tiozo game table. But he's going through a bunch of active things, from Devil Peak to the Eternal Champions issues, where they're basically saying, hey, you'll get your stuff whenever, and Devil Peak, I have no idea what's going on with that one or when things will update around there. But he goes through Tiozo, he goes through a lot of campaigns, a lot of updates. There's no Cult of the Now this week. Cult of the Now is usually meant to be a bit of a splash of cold water on the crowdfunding. Before we dive into all the campaigns, before you show you everything, before you decide what you want, it's meant to be a bit of a reminder of reality. A healthy dose of reality. And I think this video will serve that purpose today just as easily. It's a reminder that things going on in crowdfunding are never a guarantee. While tabletop crowdfunding is one of the safest forms of crowdfunding, as far as that correlation between backing something and actually getting that thing, safest within crowdfunding doesn't mean safe. It just means safer than, like, you know, that video game or technology or whatever other things you might get on crowdfunding. It is worth remembering that anything you back on crowdfunding, at the end of the day, it is still a risk. And so, yeah, he goes through a bunch of issues. A worthwhile video to watch just to get a general sense of, you know, things that go on and things that are basically your money. Your money's going somewhere, and it's worth being reminded where that goes. That's going to be King of Average over here. Recent gaming issues finally updated. He's covered some of these things before. This is kind of a roundup video covering a lot of issues. And with that, let's go ahead and start this off with Board Game Adjacent. We have Board Game Gear Essentials, the Adventurer Bag, and Playmats. This was run over on Gamefound originally, but they're bringing the same thing over to Kickstarter, it looks like. I think it's the same thing. I didn't see any noticeable differences before they actually deliver. But this is going to be a board game bag and playmats. There's like playmats in 7 sizes and 7 colors, and then this board game bag where you can check out a lot of things. The Adventurer Bag. There's a lot of ways to carry this. I think there's 6 different ways to carry this bag, all in this picture. The video, by the way, the video is pretty good as well if you want to check that out. But anything from a backpack to wheels to just holding it that way or holding it the other way or holding it that third way. The Adventure Bag has a lot of things going on, a lot of straps, lots of stuff, holding playmats, holding anything you need in this. You can check out any coverage on the bag. I've covered on my channel, Rado's covered, Chris George has covered. There's been a bunch of people covering this bag if you want to check it out. It is not the cheapest bag, but it is very functional. At least the one I have, by the way, is a prototype, meaning it doesn't even have all the features. And even as a prototype, it was I still have it. Even as a prototype, it's an excellent bag that does the job overall. And it's going to be the Adventurer's Bag. And then they have playmats as well. Playmats that I think I'm still using one of the playmats. Purple playmat with like some LED lighting. I actually don't like the LED lighting quite as much. I prefer it without the LED lighting, but it's a functional playmat, does the job. That's going to be the board game from Crafting Kingdoms, board game bags, updates, playmats, all of those things over here. And again, it gets expensive quickly the more you get, so it is not a cheap bag option. If you're looking for the cheapest bag, I generally recommend All Play to be a good combination of function and price. But if you are looking for something that does a little bit more and doesn't cost significantly more, the Adventurers Bag is definitely one worth looking at. And that's going to be the Adventurers Bag from Crafting Kingdoms, board game became Gear Essentials, and with that, we're going to move on to the canceled and not yet funding category. We actually have 2 cancellations this week. I feel like I don't cover cancellations as much as I used to. It's not that campaigns don't cancel, it's that I find that I don't really keep up to date on every single campaign. So if a campaign cancels and I don't know about it, I just don't know about it. I covered it last week, and for all I know, it canceled. So more often than not, cancellations are either bigger campaigns that canceled, or campaigns I was prepared to cover, and then they canceled before I did. And to that end, we have Wish. Wish over here canceled. They just funded. They crossed that finish line, and they're like, hey, by the way, too many of you reported that you just found out about the game today. Many people, actually, myself included, found out about this campaign from the Mitchell's profile on Facebook. Like, that's how I knew this existed. And so it looks like they're taking a step back. They're reevaluating it. They're going to launch again, it seems. I don't know exactly when, but it looks like they're looking more into their advertising and marketing options to get this campaign in front of more eyeballs as possible. I will say my own 2 cents is, in addition to lack of visibility, I don't think the cover, I think the art of the game looks good. I don't think the cover inspires a higher degree of confidence. Again, this is obviously, opinions of art are always subjective, but my subjective opinion is that I subjectively think it's objectively not as compelling as a cover, while the rest of the art I think looks great. So I would encourage them personally to look at that cover and see what else they can do about it, because I think the art over here looks great across the board. It's just the cover looks a little like less pulling me in. Again, this is just my opinion as a consumer. I am less likely to back that game based on the cover, and I have to look deeper to be able to see, like, even this rulebook. I think this rulebook even looks better. Goodish. I don't know if I love the font. I don't know if I love that Wish font. Either way, we're getting too much into a deep dive into my own subjective opinion about the art. That's going to be Wish. Wish will be coming back to crowdfunding, so in case you're interested in this one, keep your eyes peeled. It'll come back at some other point in the future, probably. Also, fun fact, you can click on a profile in Kickstarter, you can click on Silverbow Games and follow, and you'll get notified when it launches again, in case you don't follow channels like mine and know that way. So also, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. You're awesome. We have another cancellation, though. Another cancellation over on Gamefound. This is Sea Beast from Littlest Lantern. This project was canceled as well. Also, it looks like it's crossing the funding goal, and they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to go ahead and cancel and relaunch. We're going to take a step back, reevaluate. It looks like a big part of their thing was getting their game in more content creators' hands. They were running a little late. They tried to get the whole thing launched. It looks like they wanted to get there. And again, they saw the traction, they saw the growth, but not as much to the point that they were looking for. And so they're like, we're going to take a step back. We're going to look at more marketing. We're going to relaunch 2024. We're going to have the game in more content creators' hands. Things like that. That's going to be Sea Beast: A Bloody Voyage. So again, not really going to the game today, but same idea. And also, again, same idea. You can click on the campaign, you can click on the creator, you can follow the creator and all that stuff. That's going to be Sea Beast over here, over on Gamefound, which will be relaunching again in 2024. Which brings us on to the campaigns. This is still, well, technically we're still in the not yet funding category. We have Monasterium Deluxe North America. This is actually a relaunch. We covered this maybe 2 months ago, or ish, something like that. They brought it back to crowdfunding, 93 backers, 8,000 pledged of a $17,000 goal, 24 days to go. It might cross that finish line, although I am skeptical that it will. In general, when you do have a relaunch campaign, to a certain extent, you're going to see a larger percentage of day one funding. In general, campaigns are a whole interesting data analysis of where funding goes, but to a large extent, you're going to see anywhere between 30 to 40% of your funding on day one. That is an average. It's not across the board. Campaigns are different here, there, and everywhere, but one of the things that can affect that is relaunch campaigns are often bringing in all those people who just backed your campaign, and they're coming back because they were just there. And so you often see a higher percentage of funding on day one for relaunch campaigns, which means, the sad news there, is that means looking at this campaign, I am more skeptical that it'll cross that finish line, or even if it did, it would just barely. So hard to see. It looks like they haven't solved that product market fit aspect of figuring out who the target audience for the game. Monasterium already does exist. It's a worker placement game with running a monastery, all that. Already does exist. They're just bringing it back with deluxifications, with upgrades, with a deluxe slipcover if you want all that. So they were bringing it back with a bunch of things. Let's see if we can scroll down over here. Because the deluxe slipcover actually looked kind of cool. Here we go. Like this looks like a nice cover. Like I'm usually not into like slipcovers, but this box looks so much better. It actually reminds me a bit of Carnegie. I don't know if you've seen the Carnegie box. It reminds me a bit of that. Either way, good vibes from this box. I think this box would sell. I think this box should be on the front of the crowdfunding campaign. I'm realizing now we're really just getting into my opinion of art today. That's what's happening. But then again, I guess this is to a certain extent to show my opinion, so here we are. But that's going to be Monasterium. Monasterium, I do think that art piece would do a lot better as far as the general marketing of the game, as far as the crowdfunding page of the campaign, but ultimately I do think that the price point as well on a game that's rated okay but not great is also a factor, so this one will probably struggle a bit. We'll see. Not yet funding, but we'll see if it crosses into the funding category. And then we have, starting off with the actual campaign, starting off with Beers and Booty, Print, Play, and Pirate. From the same creators that brought you Spies, which is actually fascinating. This is a print and play roll and write game. Spies was as well, and Spies actually was a very fascinating twist on the genre. Very different than your usual roll a bunch of dice and assign them kind of category. And Beers and Booty is also doing the same thing to an extent, in terms of this one seems to be bringing you, what's it called? Budget Dice Throne, I believe it is. Like, going through the campaign page over here, I was like, this feels like Dice Throne, and then I got up to like a quote or a video that was like, Budget Dice Throne, and I was like, yeah, it does feel like Dice Throne. This is going to be a Yahtzee style game mechanic where you're going to have your own asymmetric characters with their own asymmetric abilities, and you're going to roll dice 3 times, up to 3 times I should say, assigning those dice to any one of your abilities. And if right about now you're like, huh, that sounds like Budget Dice Throne, exactly, this is Budget Dice Throne, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. Battles become the most legendary pirate captain of all in this swashbuckling dice combat adventure, yada mateys. But either way, this is going to be battles become the most legendary, I'm sorry, I have a joke. It's a mid episode joke. It is, but we're going to do it anyway. What is a pirate's favorite letter? A writ of safe passage from His Majesty King Charles II. It's so good. It's so good. You see, you're thinking either like R, because R, or if not that, then like the C. But no, it's a writ of safe passage from His Majesty King Charles II. Oh, it's so good. It's like a meta joke. No matter what people say, they're wrong. Either way, yeah, that's going to be a pirate over here. So we have Beards and Booty over here, which is Budget Dice Throne. Worth checking out over here. They also have a pledge level to get Spies as well. So it's $5 for Beards and Booty Print at Home game, or it's $8 for No Box Games Bundle. I feel like I'm going to want to like slightly roll my R's the entire video. Let's see if we can keep that up. We can talk like a pirate the whole video, matey. Matey, definitely matey. I'm not going to do it, probably. We'll see. Anyway, that's going to be Bears and Pirates over here. Beards and Booty. As usual, if this is a game that you're interested in, I usually recommend with these. Budget roll and writes are often a great way to spend a small amount of money to support creators, not even have to deal with manufacturing costs, and to get good games if you are the type of personality that prints these things out and plays with them. If the type of personality that buys these things and never actually plays with them, well then $5 is better spent on that latte you'll have this morning. Well, better spent is relative, because like at least like, I mean, $5 is still good. There's a longer conversation here about the nature of where money should go if you're not even getting benefit from it. Like, what's better, to put it in the hands of Starbucks but you get a latte, or to put it in the hands of an indie game creator but you don't even get the game? That is an interesting conversation, but not the point of this video. So we're going to move on over here. We're going to move on to the Red Palace Limited Edition. It's going to come to you from Queen Games, and yes, this is the only campaign today, I believe. I have to double check, but I believe it's the only campaign today that does have those limited pledges. Although they are more limited than usual, and it is the limited edition, but most of the pledge levels do not have the limited VIP pledges, all that. They have a specific pledge level over here, which if we scroll down, where is it? Where's 610? Nope, not that one. This one over here, the Early Bird Mega Box plus the Red Palace LE over here. This one has a limited 30. I don't know if that's been increasing or not, so it's possible it's a real one. Like this one over here, this one's 6 left of 10. That might be real too, but being Queen Games, the question is, I don't know yet, but they historically have used limited pledges. So hard to say for sure. I don't want to, like, you know, vilify them too much if it actually really is limited, but I'm skeptical that they're real limited ones. I assume they are the moving target ones. But the Red Palace over here is going to be the Red Palace is a version of Alhambra, specifically titled the Red Palace, which they brought to crowdfunding earlier this year, and now they're bringing it back to crowdfunding so you can upgrade it to like be more deluxeified and match your big box collector's edition. So you can go ahead and get a few things. You can get the Red Palace Limited Edition upgrade kit over here for $29. That's going to upgrade your regular Alhambra Red Palace version, assuming you have that and the Alhambra Mega Box. This will make everything cross-compatible. And then we have over here, we have the Red Palace Limited Edition, so straight off the bat for $78. Then we have the Red Palace Limited Edition plus Roll and Write for $88, and then we have Shogun and all these other things. This is typical Queen Game stuff where like a little bit of everything into their campaigns, and of course rebranding and redoing 17 versions and iterations of their games, making it impossible to ever really follow exactly which version of what game you have. I like Queen Games. I just covered Marrakesh on the channel. I think Marrakesh is fantastic. I like a lot of the games Queen Games has brought to the table over the years. As a consumer, they are one of the most frustrating companies to follow or track or to have any understanding of whether you have the most recent thing or the less most. It's very hard. It's very confusing. Like they're all over the place. They like have like 7,000 SKUs for every single title they make. It's a little exhausting. But I mean, hey, if it works for them, it works for them. But as far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? Skeptical it will on this one. Some of their games certainly have. The big box city editions have. The mega Alhambra versions have done a generally good job. But this one is skeptical it will, especially, I mean, pricing wise, like $78 for this. Their games are expensive, and I just don't think the demand is present enough on this for that to work out for you. So if you are interested in this game, by all means, but I'm skeptical that it's one that's going to hold its value. Then we have Saw, the Jigsaw Trials, which, by the way, I just finished watching Saw X because this reminded me that I hadn't yet watched Saw X, and I have watched the original Saw, so we'll talk about Saw X later in my week in review, because apparently I'm not doing like mini movie reviews in my week in review. But either way, Saw X, or Saw, the Jigsaw Trials, 2,000 backers, $142,000 raised, 10 days to go, coming to you from Iconic Studios, who've done They Live, I believe. They did They Live the board game, and They Live the card game, and now they're bringing Saw, the Jigsaw Trials to your table. This is going to have a regular version of the game for $57, a standard version, and then for $81, a collector's edition of the game that does indeed have a cut-off hand, because I don't know if you've ever watched Saw movies, but they're generally about like forcing the various victims in the movie to engage in horrific things that if they don't do the horrific things, they die, and if they do the horrific things, sometimes they die too, so it's kind of just two horrific things. I don't know about you, but whenever I picture myself being that victim in a Saw movie, I'm pretty sure I would just give up and die. I'm pretty sure that's just the easiest thing. I don't have the mental fortitude to cut off my hand to like, I mean, maybe, who knows, I just think like I'm fairly weak-willed, like comparatively speaking, not like in life in general, but you put me in a hard situation where I have to like gnaw my hand off to like save myself, and I don't know. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Like, sometimes waiting for the end is just, this is a weird video. We're gonna move on. Saw over here. So this is gonna be Saw. This is going to be forcing you to engage in, trying to figure out whether you're gonna survive or not survive, as you try to see whether you can solve the various puzzles, as you combine different elements, setting traps for the other players, and you're gonna combine different elements together, and then you have to try to figure out your way. You have to either utilize resources to get through them, or inherently, your resources are sometimes just your body parts and there's some degree of sacrifice involved in it. So it's a bit of a combination, as you thematically combine the bathtub, the acid, and the lever, and you just, die. You die. Again, I would probably die in this game. That's going to be Saw over here from Iconic Studios over here. As far as should you back or should you not, will hold its value. Hard to say. Like, their games, I don't expect their games to be amazing. I think they are targeting very much the IP audience. If you look at ratings on They Live the board game, they're okay. Not great. They're okay. This obviously could be an amazing, exceptional game. I just assume, in general, when you throw an IP onto a game, I assume to an extent that the IP is first and foremost, until you as a publisher give me reason to believe that there's a lot more behind it. So hard to say for sure, but I will say that their games aren't rated the best, but if you look at They Live the board game, actually did find holding its value. There were enough people who were interested in it that the collector's aspect of things did a decent job holding its value. So if you are backing this one, there's a chance it holds its value, just apparently the demand is there. I mean, this one is going to do as good or better as the They Live the board game, or it looks on track to do that. So overall, I think that backing it as far as holding its value in the Collector's Edition, there are people who want this stuff, who are fans of the IP and all that, so it may well work out for you. It's definitely still a risk, but just based on their past games, it seems like it may hold its value after all. Moving on over here, we have Gates of Niflheim from Raybox Games. They previously bought you, oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank on this one, not Blitzkrieg. No, they bought you like the zombie game. What was the, was it zombies? It was World War II Zombies, but why can't I remember the name of the game? Give me a second here. Let's go to the pledge levels over here, because they have stretch goals add-ons. Here we go. From Escape from Stalingrad Z, World War II Zombies. I told you. I just forgot the name of the game. But they previously brought you that. That one actually got incredibly good reviews. And this is building off that same system in Gates of Niflheim, a move your own adventure kind of game. That's what they call it. It's a clever little name, move your own adventure. The idea being you're going to be playing directly on the scenario book, similar to Escape from Stalingrad Z. You're going to have various standees over here, or if you get the deluxe edition of the game, you can get the miniatures as well. You can even get the book version of the game and go full budget and supply some of your own materials like dice and things like that. So basically multiple pledge levels, but three core ideas. There's like the full budget mode, there's the standard mode, and then there's the full-on deluxe miniatures and everything mode. Those are different ways you can go ahead and buy the game, with some fluctuations and variations within. But this is going to give you like 32 scenarios, I think, but it's like a branching pathway situation, so you can be moving to move your own adventure as you go through a bunch of these systems, building off the skirmish-based system that they had in Escape from Stalingrad Z, over 30 scenarios, which I think was 32. I think the number they gave was 32. But over here, you're going to be modular double-layered character sheets. You can have all these various miniatures if you get the deluxe versions of the game, lots of player feedback and things like that. The World of Niflheim, so basically it's going to be a bit of a skirmish, choose your own adventure, move your own adventure scenario game from the creators of Escape from Stalingrad Z. As far as the pledge levels over here, we have the Gates of Niflheim for 195 Canadian, it's Canadian over here, for absolutely everything in the game, the deluxe set, I shouldn't say everything, just the deluxe set of all that. We have a Better Than Axe to the Head to support the publisher. We have Gates of Niflheim print and play. We have the travel set, this is where you're going to supply some of your own things, so 45 Canadian, around 35 US. We have the box set for 76 Canadian, and we have, and that's it, and the deluxe edition up here for 195 edition for all that. So, as far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? Hard to say. The original Escape from Stalingrad Z is actually rated incredibly well, so if you want to check that out, that's rated, well, incredibly well. Over on BGG, I think it's like an 8.2 or something like that. Solid ratings. But as far as whether it holds its value or not, in general, the people who bought the box edition last time round, meaning that middle ground tier, for the most part, they're selling it for less than what they paid for it. They're taking like, a $20 hit on it-ish or something like that. So if you are interested in this game, go ahead and back it, but I do think it's one that is less likely to hold its value overall. I think in general, this theme is doing a little bit worse than the Escape from Stalingrad Z, and that one, as it is, didn't do a great job holding holding its value. Just the price point, content, whatever it is, wasn't as much of a fit or working out for people. Moving on over here, we have DCeased, the main attraction. And yes, of course, we will have a Should You Back It on DCeased, a Zombicide game. We'll have a Should You Back It probably in the final days of the campaign, like the last day or two, maybe, like right before they drop the all-in is historically when I do have the full Should You Back It videos in it. But we'll go ahead and get that for you. And also, if you missed it over on my channel, there was a playthrough, a second playthrough of the game playing on hard mode over on the channel that AP and I went through. And this week, in like a day or two, there'll be a full playthrough on Nightmare mode, so you can check that out as well in case you want to see just how hard Nightmare mode is. But 11 days to go, 7,000 backers, $858,000 raised, definitely underperforming Marvel Zombies, which is to be expected, although underperforming it a bit more than I thought it would. I predicted this one to be at around 3.5 million by the time it's done, and I think that I will not be close to that. Like, at this point, we'll see. Like, White Death had a nice upward surge at the end, so things could turn around for sure, and it's only just launched this week, but like, it might be closer to 2 million. It's hard to say. It's hard. Like, they do see a surge, especially as they continue to release add-ons, because they have released add-ons to this already. But this is building off the Zombicide, the Marvel Zombie system. Obviously, they're not saying that. If you watch any of the videos, they're refusing to officially say that it's compatible, but they are hinting that it is. If you read between the lines, effectively that is probably code for the licensors probably don't want them saying Marvel Zombies or things like that. But from having played the system, I can tell you that I cannot see a reason why it would not be directly compatible with the system. Obviously, this one, DCeased, does not have zombie mode, so there is that difference over there, but in general speaking, like, if you're trying to mix around, if you want to have a playthrough, like someone asked for a playthrough, can I mix together like a DC and Marvel playthrough? And the answer was no, I can't, because I had to ship this off to Dice Tower, so I don't have the copy anymore to play through it, so you'll have to wait till it actually delivers for me to give you more content on DCeased. Although I'm still waiting on Marvel Zombies, by the way. I'm a little annoyed. I'm still waiting on Marvel Zombies. It's like supposed to be here. I'm anxious to dive in past the core box, because honestly, playing as the heroes more so than the zombie mode is so much my preference as far as the system goes. Anyways, yeah, point is, if you want to go ahead and mix Batman and Superman into your, Marvel Zombies game and have, I don't know, Wolverine taking down Superman, you absolutely can. Is it realistic to real life? No. Superman would tear his brains out for breakfast, and they don't even have the benefit of having, like, a shared mother's name to, like, actually rescue them, so, yes, Wolverine would be dead. He'd come back to life, obviously, because you can't really kill Wolverine, but Wolverine would not get anywhere with Superman. It just, it wouldn't work. Unless you got, like, your Adamantium claws made of kryptonite. Is that possible? Is that doable? That would be cool. I want to see that. That should be a fan fiction. It almost certainly is a fan fiction. Anyways, as far as the pledge levels here, we have one pledge level, the Anti-Life Pledge, $130 for the game, and people are like, that's way more cost of retail. Yes, because you're getting all the stretch goals, you're getting all the extras, and you're going to get a lot of extras for it. You're getting the daily stuff. Again, we'll do a full deep dive into this when we actually have the full Should You Back It in the last week, but they're basically bringing you a bunch of superheroes, 8 superheroes in the core box over here. We have Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Batman, Flash, Green Canary, Hawkgirl, Green Arrow, and Lex Luthor. Those are going to be your various good guys. You have the zombie heroes over here, so we have Superman, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Catwoman, Martian Manhunter, and Hawkman. And then you have a ton of other content, which we're not going to go through every single individual over here, but you have stretch goals being unlocked already. So we have, Blue Beetle, and Booster Gold, and Miss Martian, and Black Adam, and Captain Atom, etc., etc. And Power Girl, by the way, who, once again, revealing that I don't know anything but actual comics. I have no idea what Power Girl was. I had to look it up. I was like, did they rename Supergirl? Is that what happened? Did they rename Supergirl? No, Power Girl's a real person, apparently. We have Ice, we have Penguin, we have Red Robin, Green Canary, Wonder Woman, bad Green Canary, because we already had good Green Canary. But lots of those things over here. The daily swaps, the daily snaps over here, Ravager, Kid Flash, Mr. Terrific, Vicky Vale, and there'll be more content. The whole system is compatible to Dark Knights from 2nd edition. They're going to be giving you a crossover set. So if you have all the content from the Dark Knights metal sets, they're going to be going ahead and giving you those. So if you want, Metal Flash and Metal Batman and all those variations therein, you can of course go ahead and get those. Although they're giving you full like customizability, so all those fun things. Anyways, we're gonna have over here, we have Gotham Knights, we have Unkillables, lots of these are the 2 expansions. Sorry, my bad, I'm scrolling a little too fast. Gotham Knights is going to be giving you the whole entire Batman themed expansion set over here, and the Unkillables is going to giving you the something themed expansion set over here. I don't know enough about the system, but I mean a bunch of various heroes and villains over here in your set. So those are gonna be the two expansions over here. $60 and $45 for that. The Unkillables is a Kickstarter exclusive expansion, and it looks like Gotham Knights is going to be giving you some Kickstarter exclusive extras in it. And again, we'll cover this more in the full deep dive we do towards the end of the campaign, so you can check that out. And over here you can see the Dice Tower playthrough, and then the first 2 playthroughs over here. There'll be a 3rd playthrough added, likely Wednesday, possibly Tuesday, but likely Wednesday, I want to say. Anyways, that's gonna be what we have for DC Zombicide. As far as Should You Back It it, should you not? It's going to be the same conversation it usually is. If you back this at the core set over here, it will 100% hold its value. If you back it at any level, it will almost certainly hold its value. Despite the fatigue on the system means that you have, you know, 7,000 people backing it instead of 17,000 people backing it. And even then, by the end of the campaign, you may well get to 17,000. It's going to be hard to say for sure, but maybe not 17. Well, it's going to be higher. It's going to be higher. But this is still a popular game. This is still a game that people are going to want. And especially as Marvel Zombies show up and people like it, and people will like it, I can tell you that much, you're going to see a lot of people who want this system down the road. And as usual with CMON, getting their exclusives after the fact is just expensive. So despite the fact that it's less popular than Marvel Zombies was, it's still a game that will hold its value. You can safely say that. Moving on over here, we have Holotype Mesozoic Europe. This is going to be 534 backers, 15 days to go. This is coming to you from, this is an expansion to Holotype from Vexworks Games. This one, I still have not played my copy. I need to play my copy. Chris George raves about this game. It's going to be a worker placement game of assembling your various, you know, fossils and things for points and stuff like that. And this expansion is going to be adding a few things, a bunch of modular stuff to the game. So you also have you can get the base game, you can get the expansion for $19, the base game for $45, and the all-in, which includes both of those, plus the little modular packs over there for $65. That's easily your best option if you don't already have the base game. But over here we have a bunch of modules. We have the double-sided focus boards. These are going to be things where if you complete stuff, you're going to be able to get rows and column bonuses. So as you complete more and more things, you get just perks and stuff, like, you know, points as well as in-game bonuses for them. We have more specimen cards. We have trace cards over here. We have field expedition cards, 12 bone bed cards, and 20 personal objectives, as well as 30 global objective goals, and then a few more other various stuff over there. Basically, modular stuff, and or more content for the Holotype system. The focus boards looks pretty cool. Again, I haven't played the Holotype system, so I'm only like to me, these are like nice modular things for a game system I haven't played yet. So definitely interested in it. And again, I know Chris George raves about it. I think it's like a 7.5 in BGG, so obviously, you know, take that into account. Chris George, delightful human being that he is still just one opinion, no different than any of my videos and all that. And so yeah, that's going to be Holotype over here. Definitely interested in this one. That's going to be Holotype over here. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, seemingly yes, but hard to say. The reason I say hard to say is this is one that hasn't had a ton of backers. But if you look at people who are buying or selling the original Holotype on the secondhand market, they seem to be holding the value just fine so far. But that's because there's like 2 sales. I can only find like 2 sales. So the data set is very limited, which means it's definitely still in the risk category. But at least from those, someone just rung a doorbell.
At the front door.
Someone rung a doorbell. I may have to cut. No, we're gonna go ahead and just yeah. Alexa, hang up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go tell my son that his friend is here. I'll be right back. So it turns out there was an arranged playdate, but there was a miscommunication, so the playdate that we thought was happening somewhere else is now happening here instead. But with that, let's move on from Holotype on to the next one, which is going to be Ahoy! Ahoy set sail to New Horizons. It's going to be for Leader Games over on Backit. $150,000 raised, 2,383 backers, and 16 days left to go. New Horizons is bringing you more content to Ahoy with the new loot pledge, $50 off an $80 MSRP. We'll get to that shortly. We have Ahoy New Horizons with 4 new factions, 1 for each of the the size in the game, and then 2 for the 3 and 4 player count. We'll talk about it in a second. We'll get right there in a second. We have 35 wood figures. We have 18 dice. We have the upgrade pack, which brings you metal coins to replace the regular coins in the base game. And then you also have the small expansion, additional gameplay content usable for any game of Ahoy. That's going to be $50. And then for $90, an additional $40 if you can do the math, you'll get the Ahoy base game, which does ship free, which we'll get to. Because before we get to anything else, understand that you can currently get the Ahoy base game for like $32, $33 online. Obviously, check your local game store, check what country you're in, all of those things. But the flip side of that is this does ship free, and it ships upon campaign completion, so you're not waiting a year and a half for it. Which basically means if you're about to place a miniature market order and about to get anyways $100 free shipping, you're still better off getting it on a miniature market for $33. But if you are interested in getting it now and would just buy a single item, that free shipping does somewhat compensate, so could be a good-ish deal, could be a bad price, depends on what you're looking for as far as the base game. As far as the expansion content, the main reason over here to get that would be the upgraded metal coins. If you're just looking at the pure base content alone, it'll be cheaper at retail. We're getting ahead of ourselves, that's the whole should you back it part. But as far as the gameplay, we're getting new content. So in general, in Ahoy, you're going to be choosing 2 factions. Well, you start with 2 factions in the game. Now that we have the expansion, you'll be able to choose a faction for each side, either the Bluefin Squadron or the Blackfish Brigade, and then on the other side, either the Moloch Union or the Shellfire Rebellion. And then if you go to 3 or 4 players, in the original base game, you always played as the Smugglers. In this game, you can play now as the Coral Cap Pirates and the Leviathan, giving you more options to play through this asymmetric game. This is going to be Ahoy. It's being leaning into the whole Leader Games, illustrated by, illustrated by not Coral, really, illustrated by Kyle Farron. I think it's Kyle Farron, right? That's the artwork. But either way, illustrated by him, it's going to be leaning into the Leader Games system of having asymmetric games from Root, and the one before it, which I always forget the name of, but the other one with like a dungeon that eats people, whatever it was. But it's going to be a lighter asymmetric game in that universe, and so that's going to be bringing you more content to the game of Ahoy at a price point that's reasonable-ish depending on what you're getting, but also not necessarily a great price point either. The coins are going to be the main compelling aspect, which brings us to the should you back or should you not will hold its value. You're better off getting it at retail if you're willing to wait. The main reason to get this would be the metal coins, but price point wise, it's just not overly worth it, especially once you factor in shipping and all those things. That's going to be, and again, that base game, that extra base game will ship free, but free is relative when you're being charged more for it than it would cost online otherwise. So that's going to be Ahoy, a whale of an expansion coming to you from Leader Games over on Backkit. Moving on, we have Firesiege by Dear Game Studios. 51,000 euro raise out of a $50,000 goal, so they just crossed that finish line, crossed that funding line. We have 438 backers and 16 days left to go, and Firesiege is a cooperative game of basically trying to have some degree of hidden information. Every turn you're going to have three cards in your hand, and on one side of the card it tells you all the good things that will happen, and on one side tells you all the bad things, but you only get to see one side. And which side you draw is random, so sometimes you'll draw and you'll know the good stuff, sometimes you'll know the bad stuff, and then you can rely on your teammates to help guide you, but they can't tell you directly. So you could be like, I want to play this card, are we good with that? And they could be like, yeah, that's not the worst. Or they could be like, that's a really bad card to play right now, bro. That's really going to mess us up, but bad. So there's some degree of communication, but not the same degree of communication of actually telling you what's on the card. Worth noting as you look at this picture over here, right in front of you, this picture shows a bunch of miniatures, which are only some of the pledge levels and or add-ons. Well, we'll talk more about that soon, but those miniatures are not guaranteed, so just factor in that you're either looking at little wooden meeples, but there is a miniatures upgrade kit. But yeah, you're basically trying to deal with a tower defense game of some degree of hidden communication. You're going to be upgrading your characters across the course of the game, trying to accomplish a bunch of goals over here. This one, I have played this one, really enjoyed it, thought it was a very fun time overall, but it's basically going to be some degree of hidden communication. You could play it solo as well. There's a way of playing it solo and just kind of avoiding that and kind of risking certain things, but ultimately I think it does work best as a 2 or higher player experience because of the ability to actually have another human at the table being like, that's a bad card. Don't play that card. Not right now. We need to do some other things first, then you can play the card, but you can't play the card now. It's going to be really bad for us. But the system of knowing some of the things that are going to happen, but not knowing the counter to it, either knowing the bad but not knowing the good, or knowing the good but not knowing the bad, fascinating concept in and of itself as far as how the game executes. Even does work solo as well. I've played this both solo and cooperatively, enjoyed it both, think it's better as a 2-player or more experience. But that's as far as the base game over here. Then we also going to have an expansion, and here's some of the miniatures. These miniatures I believe are in all pledge levels for the actual heroes you're placing off against. Then we have the warlords, which are never miniatures, and then we have the miniatures for the rest of the game, which depends on if you get the miniature upgrade pack. But as far as the various pledges or items or all these things, so we have game variety, lack of downtime, no alpha player, varied heroes, all those fun things. Why back now? First to receive, deluxe version, discounted price. We'll get into the should you back soon and all that, but first, we have the champion pledge, €129 for everything. That's going to include the base game, the Ballad of Fire expansion, the Azure Tower expansion, which is a Gamefound exclusive, a little small module, it's more of a module than a full expansion, but it is extra content. And then we have the core box miniatures and the Ballad of Fire miniatures, which as of right now, you can only get in the champion pledge. They have said in the comments and all that it will be available in the pledge manager, and they may make it available during the campaign, but it looks like you can get those miniatures, but right now, if you want the miniatures, it's only doing the champion pledge, which is an interesting decision. I wonder, like, is that meant to guide you towards a champion pledge? Like they've said, it's gonna. I don't know why they're doing that. Why it's not just an add-on, but it's not just an add-on for right now. Then we have the base pledge for €55. We have the warrior pledge for €79. That gives you the Ballad of Fire expansion, and then we have the early bird champion, which is gone, and then the retail pledge over here, which is not really relevant. And then over here, we have the various stretch goals over here. So we have the core game box with the gold printed logo, the new game mode, a campaign game mode. So they're adding a campaign game mode to the game. I'm always cautious of those. Like, this is a game that doesn't cry needing a campaign. But for those of you who want it, depending on how it's done, it could be a great expansion. It could be a great, campaign mode, or it could be horribly balanced. Sometimes when there are add-ons, it goes either direction. So just understand that risk going in. And that's what we have as far as some of these various stretch goals going on here. Then we have the Aesir miniatures over here for some of the warlord type characters you're fighting off against. We have the Azure Tower expansion over here. Past that, if we scroll down, so I just want to show you the over here. So these are going to be the warlord the warlord effect standees over here. These are going to be some of the warlord characters you're fighting off against. They currently do not have miniatures for those. They have been asked, and they said that hey, miniatures for right now for those don't make sense. They're not on the board often enough, and the cost to sculpt them just based on where the campaign is at. Like, maybe if it goes really high and we look in stretch goals, sure, but for right now they don't plan on making those into miniatures because your heroes are on the board all the time. These various enemies are on the board all the time, but the warlords are very situationally on the board. So for those, for right now, they're keeping us standees. recipes. And that's basically what you have for Firesiege, not Firesiege. Firesiege is the name of the company. Firesiege is the name of the game. That is everything you have for Firesiege, and then we have some of the examples of the miniatures you're going to have in the pack. The Skreel Queens, the Skreels, the Valken Warriors, all of those in this game. So, as far as should you back or should you not, will hold its value. The key thing ultimately is going to be the price points. The price points on this are not cheap, especially once you factor in shipping as well. Shipping, oh, and worth noting, disclaimer, that Board Game Co. has done paid content on the game. Please take that into account. But miniature, the cost of shipping is going to be the tipping point on this, because you're basically looking at a €55 pledge, but once you add the shipping to that over here, so you're looking at, you know, where is the shipping over here? So I think it's €20 if I recall. Yeah, €20 for the base pledge over here, which means you're looking at a $70 game overall to get your hands in it, which is just a decent amount of money for even the base pledge. €70 game, not even $70 game. So it's just an expensive game overall, even for the base thingy, and obviously if you bumped it up, that €129 jumping to €155 basically to get everything, which just makes it an expensive game. And as usual, when we have expensive games, the biggest thing I look at is going to be just how much adoption there is of the game. 438 backers is a good, I mean, it's funded. I'm happy for them. I like the game. I'm glad it's going to exist. But ultimately, it means that the demand for this at the price point is not where it needs to be, and usually that demand only shrinks down the road. The most excited people ever are about your game are either when it's on crowdfunding, and it's right now, it's like, it's on crowdfunding, I want it now, and then sometimes when there's enough hype down the road, you get that post-wave excitement if it's like really, 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 really good. So you could have the second wave, but I rarely rely on that. I usually rely on the fact that ultimately the indication of demand is that's present at crowdfunding is usually highest that it's ever going to be, which means I just am skeptical that it'll hold its value just at the price point. I think it's a good game. I think the price point and lack of certainty around the game is holding people off in this one, which means I am skeptical that it'll hold its value. Then we have Wasabi, a game of raw skill. 1,000 backers, 18 days to go from KTBG Board Games. This is a reprint of an original game. They had Wasabi, they've made some tweaks, they brought it back to you from KTBG. I believe Z-Man originally had it, but the design and art was from Josh Capel and whatnot. I don't know exactly who was involved in what sense, but the art was definitely Josh Capel. That stands out by a mile. Over here for the pledge levels, we have $40 for the game. It's $40 US for the game, and $43 US. Was that 40 and 43? Wow, it's such a small difference. 43 US for the Kickstarter version of the game. For the record, I recommend all 7 of you who are currently back in the retail edition of the game to go ahead and bump up your pledge to the full-on version, but I also assume that you 7 are not watching this video. Just a story, I just assume you're not watching this video. But either way, Wasabi. Wasabi is a game of trying to craft sushi recipes. You're going to have various sushi cards in your hand, and every turn you're going to go ahead and put down a recipe from the side pool into the tableau, trying to craft your recipes. If you do it in perfect order, you get additional Wasabi points or style points and whatnot, but ultimately you're trying to craft recipes. You're also going to have a whole sideline of action cards that you can utilize those action cards to try to manipulate the board or have some degree of extra, you know, crafting your recipe in a snake, or switching to ingredients, or placing ingredients on top of ingredients. A whole bunch of recipe cards that are going to give you additional ways to tweak the system. But ultimately it's a game of trying to create these sets of cards, of recipes, of ingredients, and trying to figure out the most efficient way to build multiple recipes in your hand towards those sets. So it's a lighter game. KTBG very much fits in their line. That's going to be Wasabi. They have a whole little system of how it's different. So if you played the original 2008 version, they have a bit of a brief recap of what's different about the game, how it changes. There's small quality of life changes, nothing crazy. And then they have the Kickstarter version over here. We have the Pan Tratty Caddy, and again, this is like $4 more. So we have the Pan Tratty Caddy over here. We have the Soy Sauce Micro Expansion. That's going to be like this little thing where you put down the board, and as you place things next to it, you take little slices of soy sauce, depleting the pile. I think it's hilarious. You also have over here the upgradable shapes of your Wasabi. So not a ton of expansion stuff, but for $3 more, I think the insert alone is worth that price point. That's going to be the Kickstarter version over here of Wasabi, a game of raw skill. So, should you back or should you not? Will it hold its value? Skeptical that it will. If you look at their last one that landed, Power Plants, in general, KTBG has a bunch of games that are generally well received. They have their line, they have their target audience, they're well received. The ones that have been a breakout hits have been Creature Comforts, and then Maple Valley have been like their breakout hits that really, like, you know, were significantly more popular. But if you look at some of the other ones in general, like Power Plants being the most recent, the price point on their games versus what they hold on the secondary market, you're losing a little bit. Not a lot, it's fine, you're not losing a big amount, but once you factor in the shipping cost of the game to get it, you're basically looking at roughly recouping your original game cost, but not necessarily the extra shipping cost. So as far as should you back or should you not, you probably won't get your full amount back, but you're going to get most of it back as you go through these games. Oh, and again, disclaimer, Board Game Co. did paid content around Wasabi as well. I need to do those at the beginning of the thing, not at the end of the thing. Moving on, we have Singularity, which Board Game Co. did paid content on. Keep that in mind. But Singularity over here, Singularity.Exe from Octothorpe Games. $155,000 raised, 973 backers, 18 days left to go. This one over here on a $53,000 goal. Singularity is the card game of raw talent. The card game of everything is completely deterministic. You choose how the game plays out. There's no deck, there's no randomness, there's no rolling dice. It's a game that it's going to give you that head-to-head card game feeling, but with significantly more control. The way they put it, it's a great tagline. They're like, the game where your enemy is, your opponent is the enemy and not your deck, or something like that. They said it better than I did, but they're basically saying that you're not dealing against the random chance chance of yourself, you're dealing against actual skill, raw skill of the enemy. Side point over here that Richard Garfield once gave a talk that I thought was phenomenally interesting, and he talks about the point of luck in games. He talks about the reason why luck is such an essential component is there's a few different aspects. The first is it stops the system from being completely deterministic and broken, so any degree of luck, the higher the ratio of luck there is, the less of a chance that the game system can be broken and exploited. That's the first aspect. And then you obviously don't want too much luck, because too much luck is complete chaos. But some luck ratio is important for that. The other element, and he said even a small amount of luck is very helpful to this element, is players, when they lose a game, players recognize that losing a game is part and parcel of life. But it's always mentally easier if you can mentally, even if you don't say it to your friends and all that, if mentally you could be like, oh, it was the way the cards came out, or oh, it was the way they know the dice rolled. If you can mentally blame luck on why you lost, it makes you less resistant to that harsh reality that you were crushed in a game of skill. So it's not even about people giving cop-out excuses, it's just that subtle, like, kind of lining of an excuse that's present, and I thought it was a fascinating concept, and I totally agree with it, which is why I'll never play Singularity, because I can't deal with the fact that I'm not good at games. I couldn't care less if I'm good at games, I really couldn't. I mean, I'm sure I do subconsciously, but like on the surface I don't. But I must to a degree, because like I engaged in WSBG. I played in the WSBG, the World Series of Board Gaming, last year. This year I didn't compete in it, but the first year I played Seven Wonders, and I lost. But I always make a point of saying when I lost, I always make a point of saying that the person I lost to is the person who won the entire Seven Wonders tournament, which means there is a small part of me that feels the need to throw that in. So it's like, yeah, I lost, but like I lost to like the person who won, so like I'm still pretty cool. Anyways, yeah, Singularity over here. So this is gonna be that's gonna be the game system over here. $55 for the core pledge of the game, and then over here there's a lot of ways to upgrade this. There's a lot. Let's go and scroll down to the various pledge levels over here. Scroll down, and we go to rewards. $175 for the box. For the box, the all-in, all that stuff, plus of course shipping. Shipping's gonna be a factor as well. You want to add that, but this is going to be the core box. It's going to be giving you all the expansion packs. It's going to be upgraded tokens, the sleeves. I think it gives you the sleeves as the sleeves. Maybe not. I might be wrong about the sleeves. Ignore me on the sleeves. I might be wrong, because like the playmats, the deluxe playmats, the premium recruiter tokens, all the expansions, so that gives you the solo and co-op expansion, and it gives you all the expansion drives. And the art, by the way, in case you're looking at this and thinking that, wow, this is AI art, I mean, according to their own AI statement, it's all human driven. So, because I looked at this and I was like, wow, this like looks, I don't know, something about AI art has a particular style, and I was like, this could be AI art in theory, because like there's so much of it, and nowadays I am of course suspicious of anything I see, but they're like, no, it's a completely, you know, human driven and all that. So that if you're interested in that aspect of things, that is helpful to know. But they have all the various expansions over here, the megabytes, yeah, no sleeves, ignore I said about sleeves, but all the various expansions in this core box over here, and yes, the box will fit sleeves, and there will probably, it looks like there's going to be future boxes. They're not engaging in a collectible system at all, but they will or plan on having future content around the game. Any future content might be in small expansion packs, but also may be in big, large boxes, so you can add, like, think multiple Singularity boxes, the same way you have Marvel Dice Throne or Dice Throne Season 1 or 2. So this box over here, while it's not necessarily future-proof in the typical sense, it looks like there'll be more boxes, hopefully, possibly, maybe, assuming they don't, like, replace it right away. But yeah, it's going to be a risk for sure, and him you get a deluxe box this early on, but it may well be a risk that pays off. Then we have the $55 for the Singularity Edition. We have $95 for the co-op and solo added in. We have Singularity with all the expansions for $95, and the gameplay complete for $135, which means the box is basically $40 extra to give you the box, to give you all the upgrades, the acrylic tokens, all those things, because you also have the thicker playmats, the character AI alt art, not AI art, alt art over here. Speaking of which, the alt art is going to be expansions to Gamefound exclusive stuff. It's going to be alternate art for the game, so if you want some exclusive content, there is going to be some. And then past that, it's just a page full of tons of cars, tons of effects, tons of all this stuff. But yeah, you can check it a lot in the game. The game looks very interesting. I have not had a chance to play this one. I am very interested in this game. This is one I definitely do want to play. I hope to cover this one at some point. King of Ravage played it, Legion of Games played it. Both of them had nothing but positive things to say. I shouldn't say nothing but positive. Overall positive things to say about the game. So that's going to be a good starting point for it. That's going to be Singularity.Exe over here. Over on Gamefound. Don't forget the shipping price over here. That Architects Edition is $40, which means your $175 game is going to be $215 because it's going to be $40 to ship. Shipping, man. Shipping really, it takes a giant price, like a dent out of things. Like $175 is a lot already, but you go to $215, so it's a whole different ball game. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? I don't have a good answer on this one. This one definitely falls in the category of being a risk. A risk meaning that I don't have an instinct either way. I could argue either way. Card games for $215, those don't usually hold their value great. $55 for the core game of a card game, again, same problem. You usually need a more competitive price point. So a lot of this might come down to how good is the system, what's the retail price. Instinctively, I think it's less likely to hold its value. Instinctively, I think if you want this game, wait till down the road, get on the secondhand market, see a future campaign. That's my instinct, but it's certainly not a guarantee. Availability is everything, reviews are everything, and overall reviews seem to be positive, which is a good thing. So definitely more in the risk category. I can argue it either way, but I'd say if you're more on the concern for your dollar, hold off and get it down the road, or get it on the secondhand market. You'll likely be able to get it for cheaper. Moving on, we have Bullet. Bullet over here is going to be Bullet Universe. 1,700 backers, $118,000 raised, 17 days to go. This is going to bring you 2 new expansions to the Bullet Universe, plus the opportunity to get like everything for the game. Although, as usual, we're going to look at prices. $35 for the base game over here. The base game that started all at a reduced price. Yes, it is a reduced price. You can still get it cheaper online elsewhere. Check your local online place. $45 for 2 new expansions. Again, you can get those cheaper on, well, not the new expansions. New expansions you can't get yet, but expansion price in general is cheaper online. $8 for the base game plus 2 expansions. And we have $140 for the gameplay all in. We have $275 for the Deluxe all in. I can save you time on all these. Looking at online retail in the US, almost all of these things you can find for cheaper, getting it online directly. Meaning the price points on the crowdfunding campaign are not strong enough to incentivize getting this here. I'm not saying don't get the game. Bullet is a great game. I've played it. I've really liked it. I don't know enough about the expansions to know if they like feel essential. My recollection of Bullet is a game system that I don't feel I would need a ton of content for, but I'd have to play it more or play it again to remember all the differences. Either way, point is, Bullet is a system that is well loved, has a lot of good reviews, and there's a lot of content for the game. The price points of it, though, as far as should you back or should you not, you're usually better off getting these stuff directly at retail. Even like the deluxe tokens and all that, you can get that at retail at this point, and the price points here are just not the best. So I'd say the main reason to get this is if you want that early access of getting the stuff sooner rather than later, if you want to support the publishers, or if you are in a place where your online retail is not cheaper than the Kickstarter campaign, in which case, by all means, go ahead and get all the various stuff that you want. And moving on over here, we have the Queen's New Capital. 282 backers, $14,000 raised, 24 days to go, or $15,000 raised, 24 days to go. The Queen's New Capital is a fast-paced deck-building game with exceeding attention put into world building and theme. Welcome to the Queen's New Capital. And disclaimer, Board Game Co. did do paid content on this game. But the Queen's New Capital is a deck-building system. It's a deck-building system where you're going to be building out your city with these buildings and these leaders, trying to build the infrastructure while you go up certain tracks, playing with different scenarios that will give you different win conditions as far as you go. And the scenarios are a stronger term. Basically, it's like the number of points you need plus some small modifications of things that happen along the way. They're scenarios-ish. Don't think like a large scenario thing, like very small scenarios. But that's basically the game system over here. A bunch of ways to play through it over here, and we have a pledge level. One pledge level, $51 for the game. That is it. Although, and again, here we are with shipping. Shipping's going to be around $20 on top of that, making your base game over here $70 for that, which is just a lot of money for this base game, because again, $50 is already not the cheapest, and once you add $20 for shipping, you're just putting it at a price point where you can get 2 great games for that price point, which is once again the unfortunate should you back it, should you not, will hold its value. Nothing against the game itself, but like for $51, for $70 for this game, I just think you're better off getting a bunch of other games instead. As far as I'm skeptical it holds value. We're not seeing a ton of demand right now. We're seeing 282 backers. I think a big part of that is going to be the price point. I feel bad for the creator. Sometimes those shipping prices just make it much harder to justify getting things on crowdfunding, unfortunately, and I think that's where we are on the Queen's New Capital. Which brings us to the last campaign of the day, Adventure Time Card Wars 10th Anniversary over here. This is going to be 2,447 backers, $406,000 raised, 26 days to go. This is going to be bringing you an Adventure Time 10th Anniversary Edition. Adventure Time itself, if you look on BGG, there's a bunch of games for it. They're rated okay at best, like 6s and 6.2s and stuff like that. They're not rated great, but they're rated okay if you're here for the IP basically and you want to play the game, yes, you'll have a playable game. Are they the best games? Doesn't seem like it according to most people, but as far as the actual 10th Anniversary over here, there's a bunch of pledge levels, starting off with the Flooper of Pigs, the Card Wars, $65 for these 6 Adventure Time Card Wars collections packs. And this is where I'll start off by saying, if you're trying to hunt down these packs right now online, they are much more expensive. So right now, the comparison of what you can get your hands on these versus getting the full all-in, this is a great price point to get your hands on that, which means I think it will hold its value. Like, people are here for Adventure Time. I mean, I think they're here for Adventure Time. I don't think they're here for the game. And for the people that are here for Adventure Time, the amount of content you're getting at these pledge levels relative to what the current price point of these things are, this is a game that is likely going to hold its value, which is weird because, like, this is less of a kind of game that normally would, but just the price point for the content you get relative to the price point of the stuff that's currently out of print, that is the conversation we're having here. For $115, you get the Card Warrior, which is going to be the first pledge, plus the deluxe edition of the Doubles Tournament game. And then for the cool guy, you get everything, including a bunch of mugs. There's a bunch of mugs as well, which I kind of want the mugs, honestly. I do kind of want the mugs. Like, I'm not even a big Adventure Time fan, but like, I've listened to some of the songs. I've watched a few episodes here and there. Like, the mugs feel like my jam. But it's going to be a card dueling system. You can either build your own decks or use the pre-constructed decks. You can have your own landscape where you play cards too, certain requirements about how many landscapes you need to play certain cards. A very simple, straightforward, basic system. Doesn't seem like it's overly compelling, but seems like it is fine and does the job. Again, it's been around for a long time, so you can already check out reviews, ratings, opinions, all of that stuff's already available. This is more of like a 10-year anniversary edition. Also, there's a role-playing game coming in case you want that as well. So that's going to be Adventure Time Card Wars 10th anniversary edition. Whole bunch of content, including mugs. I want the mugs. But that's going to be everything you get over here. And yeah, I do think it kind of will hold its value overall. Hard to say for sure, but just looking at what they've gone for, you know, what the stuff is going for now versus what the all-ins are going for over here, I just think the amount of content they give you, for me, I don't think it's a great game on the other side of it, but people do want this, and this might be the cheapest way to get your hands on it, and so you can't really argue with that. And so that is everything we have now, which means it's time for the Picks of the Week. As usual, Picks of the Week come in two categories. There's going to be my personal interest pick of the week, and then the game that I think is most likely to hold its value. For this week, those are both the same thing. They're both going to be DCeased. We're still going to pick another one, don't worry. DCeased is obviously my personal interest pick of the week. I am a huge Zombicide fan. I like DCeased. I do think it is completely repetitive with if you already have all the Marvel content. Like, you do not need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the same system. But if you do want the DC heroes, which I do, I mean, I do think this is, you know, it's a good game. It is a good game. It's just more of the same. So that is what it is, unfortunately. But yeah, DC is going to be my personal interest pick of the week and the value pick of the week. But because I like to split it up and because I like to pick two things, and it's the game that's going to most likely to hold its value overall from anything we've covered today, but because I like to split it up, I am going to go ahead and pick Singularity.Exe as my personal interest pick of the week. That's going to be from Octothorpe over here. I do want to play this game. The art looks great. The production looks great. The idea of the perfect control sounds appealing. I could see this one being a complete and total bust for me. The biggest thing that might make it a bust for me is if it's the kind of game where I have to know all the cards and all the stuff. I don't love that. I like it when I can dive into a game with only knowing the infrastructure and the framework and have a good strategic time. Examples are going to be Radlands, Wizards of the Grimoire. Those are going to be excellent two-player games that do not require me to learn 17 decks to have a reasonable time at being competitive within the engine. So I hope this game works for me. It looks very cool, and the positive feedback so far is great. So Singularity is going to be my personal interest pick of the week, and DCeased is going to be my holding its value pick of the week. And then as far as campaigns coming up next week, we have two. Well, we have more than two, but I usually focus on two or three. We have Food Chain Magnet over on Gamefound. 19,000 people following it. This is going to be the special edition of Food Chain Magnet launching on Gamefound, giving you, you know, buildings and miniatures and deluxe tokens and resources and all those things coming to you from Lucky Duck in association with Slaughter Games. And then, of course, the big one is going to be Nemesis Retaliation, launching shortly. 58,000 people following this campaign. Nemesis Retaliation from Awakened Realms. Jeez, I have to get content on this game. I have to get content. I don't know if I'll have day one content on this one. It's gonna be a mess. But Nemesis Retaliation, Awakened Realms, the crowdfunding campaign starts the 23rd of November. Expect something on the channel at some point, but it might not be day one content. But that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it this week. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I lost my train of thought. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one. I asked my date to meet me at the gym today, but she didn't show up. That's when I knew we weren't going to work out.